Okay, please. And if I go too fast, just, wave at me, because as young people, we like to take everything real quickly and forget there are people that need to listen to our stories and what we're trying to say. So talofa lava and warm Pacific greetings to you all gathered here today. I bring greetings from our All Saints Anglican Church family in Leififi to you, Bishop Y, and council members of the Anglican Women's Studies, and all of you beautiful wahine toa here today for this provincial hui. I stand before you humbled and in awe of the magnitude of mana, the wealth of knowledge, and all the mahi that has been shared since yesterday. My name is Ngalumalimana Bolivia Smith from the beautiful island of Samoa, representing tikanga Polynesia, hopefully to offer some insight into the hands to come as a young Tamaitai Samoa. I take this opportunity to thank Keridwin, Bettina, and those at AWSC, council members, for giving me this golden opportunity, and I pray that I will do it justice. My apologies in advance if I take you on a different journey today, but that's just us Samoans. You give us a slice of cake, we'll take the whole cake. So my sharing today draws from a few Bible verses that are relevant to young people, and the first being from Paul's letter to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. We are God's masterpiece, and we pay homage to those who came before us, because God also set them apart to pave and prepare the way for us to come. I shared a while back on the AWSC Zoom talks and spoke of the topic, La Langaina o La Umalanga, Weaving My Journey. Today I choose to carry on the talanoa and the theology of the art of weaving that is relatable to me as a young Pacific woman, especially in our 3 tikanga church, and where this weaving has taken me thus far. My sister Condolita earlier today in her sharing shared about the importance of the fine mat, which is up here, and what it means in our Samoan context. I will carry it on and use the concept of weaving as my focal point for my sharing. Today, although somewhat in my late 30s, I am still very much involved with our Lotu Youth Mission community in the grassroots level, archdeaconry, and diocesan level. I held previous roles with the Lotu Youth Mission community as the president of the local archdeaconry and at the diocesan level from 2020 to 2021. I am a proud member of the All Saints Anglican Association of Women. I just joined this year, and a choir master. I don't have a nice voice, and also a member of our vestry. I currently work for the Samoa Water Authority as a team leader for communications and information technology systems. One of my main responsibilities is looking for new technology, software systems, and hardware to improve how our engineers can further the water infrastructure and supply in Samoa. One of the reasons I chose weaving is because it is relatable to our main theme, many hands make the workload lighter. As weaving is not about an individual, it is a collective effort. Weaving also requires the use of hands, hence making it even better to be used as a source of empowerment and to enlighten our young people. To share a little bit for those who missed out on my story from the Zoom session, the weaving of my journey has not always been easy, was not always considered successful, but the beauty of being God's workmanship is that He created us and prepared us, and He never put us in a situation that we are not able to rise out of. The weavers before us. Weaving is a great skill and requires a special skill that even up to now I don't know how to do. Born and bred in Samoa, I grew up watching my mama, my grandmother, share her knowledge and skills over the years to many women, including myself. I recall fond memories of Gomitio Tina, of the village of Apia, visiting my mama's house, to inspect one of her grand designs of a fine mat. This is how the art of weaving lives. It evokes for me memories of roles and responsibilities of the Weaving Guild and the rituals involved. Rituals are brought to the fore with the weaving of what we Samoans call the fine mat. So called this because of the fine threads of pandanus and used in its making. But the art itself begins with the planting of the pandanus tree, which I won't go into because that's a whole nother thing. I am choosing to focus on weaving. Weaving in the Samoan context is a communal activity, the action of your hands and the hands of those weaving with you. It is labor intensive. It is a labor of love. Weaving, therefore, evokes for me imageries that are multidimensional, from actions in nurturing, community building, gender roles, singleness of purpose, your relationships, planting security, and being fruitful from hard work, diligence, continuity, and so much more. The weaving for me as a Christian depicts God weaving and binding covenant with his people. In the context of weaving in relation to our theme, I can relate the process of growing the pandanus, etc., to our skills, talents, gifts, and experiences, knowledge and understandings as individuals, and as members of our respective organizations and tikanga. If we are able to weave all these into a common goal, it is possible to create and compare to that of a fine mat, something that we can be proud of and call our own. Although it's of cultural significance, it has a gospel essence to it, symbolizing life through forgiveness and reconciliation. Whilst the fine mat symbolizes life, the weaving itself is God weaving and creating a covenant with us. Weaving together represents our roles and our characteristics that we need to keep and remain in the covenant between God and us. It is an example of collaborative work, many hands, united, our unique mission, our heritage, our whāsinomanga, my identity, is intricately woven into this fine mat. When you get a chance after our cool presentation, you can come up and have a look at the fine mat, and you will see the little, how it's woven. That is God's covenant with us, intricately woven together. Your relationship and my relationship together. My second verse is, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Although this is a verse that we hear often with young people, this is a declaration by the Lord, promising us that his plans are never meant to harm us. Instead, it is a promise of hope and a future for the hands to come. It's likened to young people who will continue the weaving. There is hope and there is a future for the weavers to come, as declared by the Lord. Then we come to the beautiful weavers to come. As most are aware, times have significantly changed. As young people, we are energetic and full of ideas, some great, some not so great. But it is our turn to take on the weaving, isn't it? Or perhaps we can pose the question, when is it really our turn to take on the weaving from you? There is a Samoan word that I'd like to emphasize that is normally associated with weaving, whono, which translates to repair. Whono is basically the art of repairing the wear and tear of a fine mat that has been around for decades. The longer a fine mat is around, the lengthier its history, the more mana it has, the more richness, the more it has to tell. So therefore, instead of disregarding the whole thing, we whono it. And that is what we, the hands to come, are meant to do. We don't want to completely change what came before because we would lose its history. Instead, we'd like to whono it so that it does not lose the history, it does not lose its richness, it does not lose the story behind it and how we came to be here today and the reason I am standing before you today. However, afono, we as young people can repair and add changes to suit us, the environment or era that we are in, and to ensure that it is current, because we young people like current, and evident only because you ask a young person, are you on Facebook? Can I add you on Facebook? Nah. Are you on Insta? Like, what? So, it's the evolvement of these things. You have to keep up. So we got to make it current so that our young people are, ready to jump on, carry on the weaving with us. It's a never-ending process. Showing a few pictures. Please, Scott. Yeah, so this is what it looks like when we come together to weave a fine mat. And by the size of the fine mat, you do need a lot of hands. Hence, many hands makes the workload lighter. It is a life cycle. Our ancestors before weaved the way for us to come to Fonofono and continue to weave, for there are those who will come after us. So below are just some pictures of my colleagues recently coming together to Fonofono a fine mat and to put our own touch, make it current for a competition that we had entered. Now, as you can see, weaving is not a one-person job. It takes many hands, especially for the bigger and much more finer mats. Just go down to my other slide. So this is the end result. After 1 week of slaving away to Fono the fine mat, we ended up adding our own touch to it and putting a whole new spin on what is called a measina, treasure of Samoa. Proud to say we won this competition, and for me, this also encourages the hands to come, to know that times are changing and that change is coming, and that those who weave the way for us have open hearts for change. Definitely exciting times ahead for our young people and youth ministry. There is a bright future. What was once considered sa tapu, not allowed, is now slowly changing, and we can finally in confidence say, we can do this. And why? Because 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. It would be amiss of me when I first started out in the youth ministry some odd years back in 2006. We were fighting for all sorts of things in our diocese. And at that time, it was called, it was Toru, now Tikanga Toru Youth Commission. Now Tikanga Youth Commission in the 3 Tikanga Church. We were fighting for the church to start recognizing young people, inclusion of a youth member as a synod rep into your diocesan synod, into the general synod, having a youth rep. We were always ever called to come and be stewards in general synod and do a waiata and a dance. But now we've got seats in there, and those we pay homage to the likes of Reverend Sepiuta Lapiapi, Reverend Claude Fongtoi, Dr. Hidenika, Archbishop Don Tamihere, Reverend Michael Tamihere, Reverend John Hebinson, Luisa, Maria, and Andrew Tessa. Those are the ones who were weaving the way when I came in to start the weaving journey with them in the youth ministry. I was the youngest youth leader then, hence why I still look young, and they're older, and not as old as those guys. This is 2011. I'll just say this quickly. This was a youth year, 3 Tikanga Youth Year, hosted by All Saints Diocese of Polynesia and at All Saints Samoa. If you make the picture bigger, we've got little tiny hands drawn on there. So back then we knew that you needed, many hands. The only problem with us young people then, we were too quick to rush in. We forgot why we needed the many hands. We didn't say why you needed many hands. So I was going to change it around a bit and say, many hands to work together, instead of just saying many hands because otherwise I can just put my hand in and not do anything. So that's those are just some of the things that that we, as young people, have. We have been around, and we have known this for a while. The onus is on us whether we would do anything about it or not. But in the future, we would like to move forward, carry on the weaving for our church, and make sure that it's successful and that it grows. And we want to see. So to end off, one of the one of the things that people keep asking me, you're like almost 40 and you're still in youth. Why don't you move to AAW or go to another, something else? And I said, but why? I have a passion for young people. I have a passion for youth ministry. And I believe that only when you can no longer impact other young people and you no longer have that pit, that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you're doing something for young people and you get that, happiness out of it, the joy. If you don't have that any longer, it's time to move on. God's saying, go, you're needed somewhere else. So God hasn't said that to me yet, so yes, still young. To end my sharing, I'd like to remind all of us today that although we are the hands to come, the weaving has passed on to the hands to come, our work is still not complete. Our roles then become those of Ole Autapuai, cheering squad. That is what you will be, cheering squad. Our journey does not end once we have passed on our weaving duties. It is then our turn to pray and cheer our young people on. So don't forget, this one fine mat is carrying all those, even you, who weave the way for us, currently weaving and the weavers to come. As the Sulatonga in Samoa says, when there is a display of fine mats, wamalie malo, sao falale. Well done, I am overwhelmed. Hush, hush, for we are in the presence of greatness. Whaftai.
Now we welcome Bridie to the stage. Thank you, Bolivia. That was a great start.
When we decided the order of the speakers, I mentioned that what I have to say today might be quite painful to hear, so we thought we'd give you a sandwich. So we've got Joy from Bolivia, challenge from me, and then we've got Sophie to cheer us up and bring us back to joy. When I was asked to speak on this topic, I had to think really hard and decide how honest I wanted to be. My views are not easy to hear, and I don't mean to come across as dismissive, insensitive, or uncaring. And I also want to state clearly that what I am talking on and seeing is in my personal Pakeha context. It might not be true in yours. I have journeyed with the women in this room for a while, so if ever there was a space to be vulnerable and to speak what is on my heart, it is in this group. So my hope is that we can still be sisters at the end. So here we go. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. I see the church dying. I see Pakeha people my age struggling to have any spirituality at all, let alone a Christian faith. I see the false gods of money and consumerism taking my peers away from any faith they may have encountered in their childhood. I also see the few who have remained in church being burnt out, abused, and being subjected to harmful theologies. For those of us who have remained the few survivors, we don't want to bring people to church. To come to know God, yes, but not to come to church. Why? Why would we introduce someone to a dying entity that spouts harmful theologies? And if we are really, truly honest, when I look around my unchurched friends, I know that I cannot in good conscience bring my gay, trans, or female friends to church. I can't do that because I don't think they would be safe. and I don't think it is where they would find God. So yes, the church is dying, and no, neither I nor my peers feel a need to prevent that death. But we are Christians, and if we are people of the resurrection, then the death of the church should excite us, because without this death, there is no resurrection. And let's be honest again, there are some things about the Anglican Church that need to die. Our story has abuse, bullying, oppression, and hierarchies where there should be equality. There are times in our recent history when we have made decisions of money over people, of power over people, and of position over people. So we hope that those things die. Now, when something dies, there is naturally a grief process, and it's really important that we do not skip that step. We cannot have the joy and the celebration of Easter Sunday if we do not have the grief and the distress of Good Friday. And so together we must mourn. Mourn the dreams not realized, mourn the communities, the parts of the body of Christ that we have become separated from. Mourn the people we have failed, the beloved churches that have had to close, and mourn the rituals and traditions that no longer serve us but still feel familiar and comforting. Right now, I see those of us few who are young people in the church as being something like palliative carers. Our goal is to preserve the dignity of the church as it takes its last breath, to hear the confessions of regrets, to give a state funeral to the traditions that have served us for so long but no longer offer good things to our communities. But most importantly, our job is to offer hope that death is not the end. Over the Easter 3 days, we see a transition from death to resurrection. Some people and churches are at a Maundy Thursday point. They are negotiating with God, looking for a different path, a way out of the death, denying the reality of what is to come and feeling overwhelmed. Other spaces are in a Good Friday space. The death has just happened. It is raw, it is painful, the grief is all-consuming, and there is no ability to think of anything other than the death. So I want to highlight the importance of Easter Saturday. That space where the death has happened, and now we just need to trust that the resurrection will come. This is a day where we can rest before the joyous celebrations begin. For those of us in Easter spaces right now, we need to pause, to gather together as people in mourning, but also as people preparing. So where are the hands to come? It is in this space that I see the most young people. They are waiting, they are preparing, they are trusting. They are grieving what has been lost and figuring out what we take into the future. What will we leave with the human and flawed body of the church? They are living out the promise and the hope of the resurrection, and they are looking for the resurrection body of the church. If we are resurrection people, then we absolutely know that death is actually the beginning. Excitingly, I see signs of what the resurrected body might look like already. There is a return to early church models where relationality is at the heart of our faith. We're eating together, discussing personal faith and theologies, and walking alongside one another as small-knit communities is the goal. It does not go down well with vestry when you tell them you don't want to grow numbers. But I think that's what we should be saying. We want growth in people's individual relationships with God. We want people to reflect on how they were 12 months before and see how they have grown, evolved, changed in their faith. We want our faith to be dynamic and to reflect what human relationships look like, ever changing, ever deepening, being more vulnerable with one another. Young people want a genuine friendship with God. As well as glimpses of what our resurrected body will look like, I see glimpses of who will be the new people we are called to care for. I see people staring at devices, desperate for any form of human connection, unknowing that the digital idols that they turn to are actually just exacerbating their loneliness and isolation. I see people like my son and his friends who are living reminders of biculturalism. They will need ways forward to worship and to know God that reflect more than one culture. I see people craving spirituality, craving hope, craving to forgive and to be forgiven. And I see people so lost that they don't even realize they could have a deeper and richer life. I know that the Anglican Church, in its resurrected state, will be able to offer relationships and community. It can offer a framework for Pakeha, Maori, and Pacifica to worship and know God alongside each other. The resurrected church can offer ways to gain hope, forgiveness, and grace. And I see it reaching out to those who want something more but don't even know God as an option. And I know this because I do see it now. These are the things that will die or have already died, but they are what will be resurrected. So what is our role as women in this space? What will our many hands be doing in this time of death and resurrection hope? Well, there's one woman I can think of, Mary Magdalene. Her hands were ready to honor the body of Christ. She had accepted the death and was on her way to care for the corpse. Our hands must be ready to do the same. But in that acceptance of death, I think we will, like Mary, instead find life. I think we will, like her, we women will be the first to see the new church, the joyous church, the church that has journeyed down to death and risen back up, a church with a new form, a form that honors its past, but also a church that what will be a bright and glorious future. And I am excited to be a part of the women, young and old, greeting that new resurrected body of the church on Easter Sunday.
Kia ora, Bridie. Now, welcome Sophie. Kia ora, Sophie.
See my notes.
Good night.
Nau mai te ki mai e ngā iwi e ngā reo ngā mana tēnā rā koutou katoa tēnā rā koutou katoa e ngā mana e ngā reo mai ngā mautere o whiti hāmoa rātou kotonga tātou e noho nei tēnā koutou nau mai ki tēnei whenua o Aotearoa. E mihi ana
ki ngā mana wahine, kia koe pihopa, koutou ngā mema o tēnei kaunihira, o tēnei kaupapa e mihi ana, e mihi ana. Many hands to come. Here are some of the ringa. Here are some of the hands that make up our amorangi, te hui amorangi o te mano o te wheke. Our hahi, they are the why. They are the reason why we trailblaze, test, challenge and explore opportunities and pathways within our hahi. Whilst my hands are here with you now, weaving the uniqueness we each bring as wahine, we prepare for them. Titiro whakamuri, kōkiri whakamua. We look back and reflect to move forward. There have certainly been some strongholds, passionate and knowledgeable wahine before my time. I reflect on some of the kōrero shared by Whae Herama and the beautiful wahine she displayed in her kōrero. Those with our sisters that also shared in their presentations during our gatherings. E mihi ana ki ngā māreikura. To honour them, we refine what they have left us, adding our flavour. So if it was me, I'd probably have kinna juice all over it. Tweaking for the times of today and the times of change. In some cases, totally changing the whole scope. So in my particular space in Manoa o te Wheke, where I'm a mother of 5 boys, eldest sibling of 7 children, a daughter to that wonderful person you had this morning who makes me cry, and also to my father, and to the many, 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 many women who have helped shape the strong wahine that stands before you today. I'm going to skip right through to 2018, 19, prior to COVID, and when that hit, and what that scope that I spoke about had to drastically change for us. Because we still see today some of the struggles and effects from those times. We're still dealing with them. So I want you to cast your mind back to 2018, 2019. You would have been thinking up all of these amazing kaupapa and maybe a holiday somewhere sunny. You were thinking of making that wedding happen, or going to your cousin's birthday, or bringing the whānau together during Christmas. It totally got shattered. And we had to, in a flick of a tēnā koutou, no mai ki te karere, we will now move into lockdown. Whatever that meant, we didn't know, other than long lines at Foursquare and New World, fighting over no toilet paper. We engaged with our tamariki, our rangatahi over this time, and we found that they were telling us some they're really clear with their words, but themes that were already present, and I'm grateful for Sister Bridie for going first, because I resonate with all of that kōrero, so it's not just from your lens. I resonate with all of her kōrero, and so it's almost like COVID said, okay, you're allowed to feel like that now, and actually allowed to talk about it. So some of these things that came up, and we've already spoken about in other workshops, isolation. In particular, young people felt isolated from their peers, and in a church setting, not cool. Tuarua, multi-layered understanding of what having a relationship with God or Christ is, or what it looks like. Did you see how many people went to online church? Tuatoru, digital access. Now we have an array of views about devices. When used appropriately, they are tools of success. However, our young people sit in those spaces. Do we hold space there with them too? Virtual platforms, social media. This is where they are. Are we there? And finally, the theme of fear. Fear of the unknown. And some of the comments from this research were, I don't know how to pray. I can't ring English fire. Shame. Or, I don't know anyone. I don't want to go there. Bridie has spoken her truth, and at some extent, I see what she sees. Today, I chose to share some hope. Today, I'll choose to share some ideas with you. Maybe a bit of creativity, but you're all pretty creative, so I hope you think it's creative too. A way forward for our tamariki, for our wahine, for you, for me. So we're going to move into a practical space for tamariki, rangatahi and whānau. In 2019, my whare became a studio, not by choice. I had a 4-week-old baby, 3 children under 10, a husband and wife trying to work. It was mayhem. You can take yourself back to them. I'm sure it looks the same in your whare. We created a live stream tamariki episode called Tamariki Time. It was recognised, and we were soon funded at the end of 2020, and now we had to actually produce some goods because we were just doing it for fun at home. And here Te Aka was born. What is Te Aka? It's a platform of mihingare educational resources to support Maori immersion and bilingual settings for tamariki youth and whānau ministries. It's a resource with the initiative to use high-quality production equipment to develop and output media. Tuatoru, and this is my favourite, is to build the capacity of young people and their whānau in their ministry and nurture new believers. Taken from John 15, kia uai mātou ki te akapono. What guides us are our uara, pono ki te atua, pono ki te reo, pono ki te whenua. Pono ki te atua, we are mihingare, seeking to share the Lord. Pono ki te reo, we empower Christian communities to use te reo Māori. Pono ki te whenua, our kaupapa seeks to recognise Christ within iwi, rohe and pariha. Since this inception, we have been creating a whole lot of stuff, and here's just a handful. Animations, te harinui reo Māori picture books, and the illustrations you see are of real life people. And you can scan those barcodes, by the way, and it'll take you straight there. A marautanga, a curriculum based on the lectionary in te reo Māori. Te aranga, another reo Māori picture book and audio book. Pepi puka puka, fabric books. Kāri nohi nohi, high frequency word cards for tamariki. Waiata hari hari and kupu and recordings, which we will learn. Inoi kupu and recordings. What's next? Interactive games, music videos, vlogging, and AI. If you don't know what it means, kei te pai, asha moko. Building the capability of young people and their whānau in ministry and nurture new believers. This is the joy, te hari me te koa. Creating opportunities for our young people to be paid and do what they love doing. So in here you'll see illustrators, graphic designers, creative designers, sound technicians, camera operators, content developers, directors, editors, and we also provide the training for this so that they can use these in their spaces and places of gathering. So what does this mean for Sophie, mai reanga, us? What does this mean for this hui, bringing into the context of this weekend? Naisha spoke of Bishop Waituhi Ariki, taking punches. Do you remember that? Although I don't want you to take those punches, Bishop, I am so grateful that you take it for our reanga and for those tamahine to come. My Vicar General, Bettina, Whae Bettina, she's the first wahine Māori in this position in our amorangi. This is a huge shift in power, especially amongst a male-dominated iwi such as Te Arawa. Ngaro atu he te kura, whakaeke mai he te kura. For me, it's succession. We need to see to be. We need to be to make change. This is my wero to you. Us three wahine here this afternoon, we're here. We still have a long way to go, but we are here and we are ready. Hand over the reins. No, we're ready. So, in light of that, my two sisters are going to come up and we're going to teach you this waiata that Whae Piki alluded to in the first night. The words are on the screen and our babies will sing for you and show you the action. So, e tū tātou. Do you have some sound? I can't do it. Do you want to say anything?